In this video, I'm going to answer your questions about bankruptcy. You'll learn the different types of bankruptcy and how they affect your chances of purchasing a home. I'm Jed Manuel with Manuel Mortgage, and on this channel, we educate you on everything mortgage. If you like this topic, give us a quick thumbs up and let's get down to some details. Now, here's a question that you probably have about bankruptcies. Can you or your customer buy a home if you have a bankruptcy that shows up on credit? And just like my other videos, I'm going to give you that answer right now so you don't have to wait to the end just to find out. Let's insert a quick disclaimer here. My answers are here to help you fill in some of the blanks. Are you ready? That answer is no, not right now. And once again, like always, it depends on the type of bankruptcy that you filed and when it was discharged. Now, before we go into the details, let's just first define what a bankruptcy is. And I summarize this definition from Investopedia. So basically, in a nutshell, the individual had high expenses versus their monthly or annual income, which results in a heavy debt load that can no longer be paid. Now, rather than totally neglecting the creditors and the debt owed, the individual or business elects to file bankruptcy. Now, federal courts, they actually handle bankruptcy cases, and a trustee is appointed by the Department of Justice. Now, let's briefly go over the two types of bankruptcy that we most commonly see in the mortgage business. One is going to be a Chapter 7, and the second one, Chapter 13. Now, Chapter 7 is when the customer disposes of all unsecured debt like credit cards or medical bills. And that individual or business most likely will repay none of that debt. They're just going to simply file their bankruptcy and write it all off. Now, when an individual files a Chapter 13, this just means that they make too much money and can't qualify for the Chapter 7. And what they end up doing is end up working out some debt repayment plan that consists of installment payments over a 3 to 5 year period. So basically, a Chapter 7 pays nothing and a Chapter 13 pays something. Like foreclosures, remember, bankruptcies also have that seasoning period, or remember that waiting period. And these waiting periods can differ depending on the type of loan. Now, for a conventional loan, that waiting period for filing a Chapter 7 is going to be 4 years from the discharge date. Not the filing date, super important. It's the date of discharge. There also are extenuating circumstances which shortens that period down to 2 years. However, like on the foreclosure video, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to qualify for those extenuating circumstances. Now, it's not possible that you might qualify for these extenuating circumstances. With proper documentation, you just might be that 1 out of 10. Now, for Chapter 13, remember, this is for a conventional loan now. For the waiting period is going to be 2 years from the discharge date. It's cut down in half. Now, this discharge date, or you can actually find this discharge date most of the time on your credit report, but it also can be found in other ways. You can have the customer should have a discharge letter from the court after it's been discharged, or you could actually go to the county court records from which the bankruptcy was actually filed, and search that customer that filed the bankruptcy. And you can find it that way. You're going to need it too, because usually the underwriter is going to ask for that, so it'd be good to have that discharge paper. Now, let's switch over to an FHA loan. If a customer is trying to do an FHA loan and has filed a Chapter 7, that waiting period is 2 years from the discharge date. And remember, pay close attention here, on a Chapter 13, there's a little bit more to it here. That customer can purchase a home after 12 months of making continuous on-time payments, and it also has to be approved by the court-appointed trustee. Now, since a FHA loan is government-backed, so is a VA loan. So a VA is also going to follow this type of seasoning. So let me help you make sense of all of this. You might have noticed that on a conventional and an FHA loan, may have noticed that the waiting period for those who had filed a Chapter 13 is less. The reason that these waiting periods are less is because they actually made payments, and they, remember those installments, and they try to repay some of that debt, during that 3 to 5 year waiting period. And remember on Chapter 7, everything was washed out, and basically they just paid their court costs, filing fee, and probably some attorney fees. So remember, paying something is always better than paying nothing. And just because you filed a bankruptcy, remember, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not able to purchase a home. It just depends on the type of bankruptcy you filed and when. Here's a really quick pro tip. It's going to help you out a bunch. Now, if you filed a bankruptcy or foreclosure and are thinking about going to homeownership, you need to make sure that after your bankruptcy or foreclosure was complete, that your credit report needs to be clear of any delinquencies, late payments, or collections. You want to make sure that you've shown financial responsibility after that time of hardship. Now, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world here. It just means that it's time to get it together. Now, if anyone tells you different, whether it's a family, a friend, or especially a lender, if they tell you any different, bring up these explanations or tell them to watch this video, or click on the link below. You can read it for yourself in the Fannie Mae guidelines, and ask them, how are they able to do it when it's clearly here defined in this link or in my video? I hope I've answered more of your questions about having a bankruptcy and the different types. If you like this video, give us a quick thumbs up and consider subscribing. Now, if you didn't like this video, give us a thumbs down and let us know what I can do to help. Check out the rest of our videos, and I appreciate you stopping by. Big shout out to my buddies, the MagBag family. Peace.